Last night, a single ballistic missile was launched from western Iran toward Tel Aviv. Israeli radar detected it instantly. Everything seemed normal. Air raid sirens blared across central Israel. Iron Dome batteries prepared to engage. Everything was proceeding exactly as Israel's multi-billion-dollar defense systems are designed to handle. And then, at 8 kilometers altitude, something happened that no one had anticipated. The missile didn't follow a standard trajectory. Instead, it deployed a cluster payload. One missile suddenly became 15 separate objects, all maneuvering independently, all traveling at Mach 15. Iron Dome, the system Israel has relied on for over a decade, tracked exactly 0 of them. By the time the operators realized what was happening, it was too late. All 15 submunitions had already hit the ground. 47 people were killed. Over 200 were wounded. And the next morning, Israel's chief of staff admitted that the country has no effective defense against this weapon. That missile was the Fatah 3. It is Iran's newest ballistic missile system, and it represents a technological leap that Western intelligence agencies did not predict and Israeli defenses simply cannot counter. The Fatah 3 combines 2 threats that were previously separate: hypersonic speed and cluster warheads. Iran's Fatah 2 missile is hypersonic, but it carries a single warhead. Their other missiles can carry cluster warheads, but they fly at subsonic speeds. The Fatah 3 combines both. It travels at Mach 15 and deploys 15 independent submunitions during its final descent. No defensive system on Earth can stop it. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what happened during that March 13th attack. The engineering problem that makes the Fatah 3 impossible to intercept, why Israel's $20 billion layered air defense network failed completely, and what it means when a country develops a weapon that makes its enemy's entire defensive strategy obsolete overnight. Quickly before we continue, thanks so much for tuning in. Your support is what keeps this channel going, and I really appreciate you watching. Please make sure you're subscribed and like the video so more people get to see this analysis. Now, let's get back to it. We are now at day 15 of this war. Iran has launched over 650 ballistic missiles and 2,600 drones since February 28th. Most of those were systems Israeli defenses were designed to handle. Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Arrow systems have intercepted the majority of incoming threats, with intercept rates ranging from 60 to 90%. But on March 13th, Iran deployed a weapon that none of those systems can engage. And the result was the deadliest single missile strike of the entire war. Here's what happened. According to official reports and eyewitness accounts, at 11:47 p.m., radar systems detected a ballistic missile launch from western Iran. The launch profile was consistent with a Fatah-class missile. Air raid sirens activated across Tel Aviv and its suburbs. Civilians had about 6 minutes to get to shelters. The missile flew a standard ballistic trajectory at hypersonic speed, peaking at around Mach 15. That's roughly 11,500 miles per hour. Israeli radar tracked it continuously from launch. Then, at about 8 kilometers altitude during the final descent phase, the warhead section separated from the booster. But instead of continuing as a single object, the warhead deployed a cluster mechanism. 15 submunitions were released over about 2 seconds. Each one is an independent guided munition with its own GPS navigation. They spread out across a 3-kilometer radius centered on Tel Aviv, each one still descending at hypersonic speed. All 15 hit the ground within a 30-second window. Iron Dome's radar system saw the cluster deployment. The single track suddenly became 15 tracks. But the fire control computers could not generate intercept solutions fast enough. The submunitions were traveling at Mach 15 and maneuvering unpredictably. They were only 12 seconds from impact when they separated. Iron Dome needs 8 to 10 seconds just to track a target and calculate an intercept. There simply wasn't enough time. Not a single interceptor was fired. All 15 submunitions hit the ground. Now, we need to talk about the weapon itself, because the Fatah 3 represents an engineering achievement that Western analysts did not believe Iran was capable of. Combining hypersonic speed with cluster deployment requires solving multiple, extremely difficult technical problems at the same time. The Fatah 3 is a two-stage, solid-fuel ballistic missile. The first stage accelerates it to hypersonic speeds. The second stage is a hypersonic glide vehicle that carries the cluster payload. Inside that payload are 15 independent submunitions. Each one weighs about 40 to 50 kilograms. During the terminal descent at about 8 to 10 kilometers altitude, explosive bolts separate the nose cone, and a pneumatic ejection system pushes the submunitions out in a controlled sequence. Each submunition then deploys 4 small control fins, allowing it to maneuver toward its pre-programmed GPS target. This is the incredible engineering challenge. At Mach 15, the aerodynamic forces and heat are extreme. Temperatures can exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius, and deceleration forces can reach 20 times the force of gravity. The cluster deployment mechanism has to function perfectly in that environment. Most cluster munitions are deployed from subsonic aircraft or missiles, where the stresses are far, far lower. Building a system that works at hypersonic speeds requires advanced materials, precision engineering, and extensive testing. Western intelligence agencies believed Iran was years away from solving these problems. The March 13th attack proved those assessments were wrong, and the submunitions themselves are incredibly precise. They can hit specific aim points within a 2 to 5 meter radius. This means Iran can program one Fatah 3 missile to strike 15 different buildings, or 15 different sections of a military base, all at the same time. One missile, 15 impacts, all arriving within 30 seconds of each other, and all of them traveling at up to Mach 15. That speed is what makes the weapon impossible to intercept. Most people think that if you just fire enough interceptors, you can stop any threat. But the Fatah 3 exposes a problem that can't be solved by just adding more interceptors. The problem is physics. From the moment the Fatah 3 deploys its cluster payload at 8 kilometers altitude to the moment the submunitions hit the ground is approximately 12 seconds. That is the total time available for detection, tracking, fire control, and interception. Let's look at Iron Dome's engagement sequence under normal conditions. First, radar detects and tracks the threat. That takes 5 to 7 seconds to get a stable track and predict the impact point. Second, the fire control computers calculate an intercept trajectory. That takes another 2 to 3 seconds. Third, the interceptor launches and flies to the intercept point. That takes 4 to 6 seconds. The total time from detection to interception is 11 to 16 seconds. You can see the problem. The Fatah 3 submunitions give the defense system only 12 seconds, while the system needs at least 11 seconds under ideal conditions against a single, non-maneuvering target. Against 15 maneuvering hypersonic targets appearing simultaneously, the system is overwhelmed. There isn't enough time to track even one, let alone 15. This isn't the first time a new weapon has appended military doctrine. In 2010, China unveiled the DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile, the world's first carrier killer. The US Navy had no defense, and it forced a complete rethinking of how carrier strike groups operate. The Fatah 3 is Iran's game-changing moment. It's a weapon that shifts the strategic balance instantly. Israel spent 2 decades and $20 billion building a defense architecture to protect its cities. That architecture worked against subsonic missiles and unguided rockets. It even worked against some older ballistic missiles. But it cannot stop a hypersonic missile that deploys 15 maneuvering submunitions with only 12 seconds of flight time. The strategic implications are huge. If Iran can produce even a few of these missiles per month, it can sustain attacks indefinitely. Israel's interceptor stockpiles are already strained. Adding a threat that can't be intercepted forces impossible choices. Which cities do you even try to defend? And which do you leave exposed? The economic and psychological impact is already being felt. Insurance companies are reportedly refusing to underwrite policies for buildings in Tel Aviv. Foreign airlines are suspending routes. Businesses are relocating. And the Israeli government has no answer when people ask how they will be protected. One missile, 15 submunitions, Mach 15 speed. 12 seconds from deployment to impact. 0 intercepts. 47 dead. Iron Dome tracked nothing. David's sling engaged nothing. Arrow 3 couldn't reach them. Israel's chief of staff admitted there is no defense. Iran claims it has 40 more of these missiles ready to launch. The Fatah 3 just proved that Israel's entire defensive doctrine is obsolete. $20 billion and 2 decades of development, rendered useless by a weapon that combines speed and numbers in a way no existing system can counter. Share this with everyone who thinks missile defense systems like Iron Dome make a country invincible. On March 13th, one Iranian missile deployed 15 submunitions at Mach 15, and Israel's defenses couldn't track a single one. That is not a system that just needs an upgrade. That is a system that has been defeated by a technological leap it was never designed to handle. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate your support. Join the discussion in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Can Israel develop a counter to the Fatah 3? Is this kind of hypersonic cluster technology simply unstoppable? Please subscribe and like the video if you want to stay updated. And click the video on the screen to see another. I'll see you soon.